Welcome, everybody. My name is Maria Cadenas. I'm the Executive Director of Ventures, and I welcome you today as we discussed a Santa Cruz Like Me, the value of representational government. First, I want to give thanks to the Latino Community Foundation and the Women's Foundation of California, with which without their support, we wouldn't have been able to do this report and analysis of Santa Cruz County. Also, special thanks to Kayla Gomez and Stephanie Cabrera for the many contributions and hard work that made the report possible. Again, my name is Maria Cadenas. I've been working for over 20 years with a focus on developing local and global social, business, and philanthropic models that foster equity, community engagement, collaboration, and wealth building. And as part of that, we look at issues within policy and government structures as they're directly connected to the success of and the well-being of our communities. First off, Ventures partners with rural Latino working class families in California's Central Coast to implement transformational programs that ensure a shared and prosperous economic future for all. Our transformational programs are all interconnected, and it's the way in which we implement our vision. This includes ALAS, Familias con Más, Futuro, Semillitas, and emergency relief efforts, in addition to our advocacy. To learn more, you can go to secvonline.org. Santa Cruz Like Me fits within our advocacy efforts and is really about a conversation about what is the makeup of our county's leadership and how is it reflecting the population to ensure that our policy decisions are having a robust and wide equity lens to the work ahead. So Santa Cruz Like Me is a partnership between Ventures and Santa Cruz County to paint a picture of Santa Cruz County's representative bodies. Santa Cruz Like Me was inspired by efforts at the state level to ensure the diversity of our government reflects the diversity of our state. The policies our local leaders form and vote on directly affect our communities, so it is important that these leaders do in fact reflect the diversity of our county. As I go into the methodology of the program, of how the report was constructed, I want to point out that it was in partnership with the county's clerk office and staff that allow us to deliver the survey to commissions, boards, and the Board of Supervisors so that they could voluntarily disclose demographic and population descriptive indicators used in other collection efforts, just so we could have a baseline of where everything stood. We did it through email. We also provided a PDF and paper format for the survey, and we work with staff to encourage commission participation, board participation, and supervisor participation. Going into the data, I want to point out that the orange fields indicate when there's a variance of 10 points or higher, which is a pretty significant variance. And while we did have more raw data, including zip codes where the population might have been slightly less than 5% or lower, there was no other significant variance. So we put the zip codes with the highest variances on the report. If anybody is curious to look at your specific zip code, feel free to reach out after the program and we'll gladly share that information with you. Within zip codes, what's interesting, if you'll note here, the one zip code with the highest variance between those that were surveyed and the population data that we have from DataShare, or county's data platform, there's a 15% variance between 95076 between the collection from the survey and those in the data bank. That's a pretty significant variance. And 95076 corresponds to Watsonville. Within the age, we see clear disparities within all age groups. But the one that is probably more notable is that we have zero representation of youth of 18 to 24. And you'll notice also for the working adults, they make up the majority of those serving in our county. We also had a high overrepresentation of females, but we want to point out that we did notice that identity-based commissions and boards, such as the Women's Commission, Latino Affairs Commission, were overrepresented in the overall response rate of the survey, which is about 45% of those that qualified to complete the survey completed it. So there is what we expect is that tainted a little bit of the female representation. If we had 100%, it might be closer to at par to the census numbers. In terms of ethnicity, you can see that the variances are within the Latino and the white non-Latino populations, with an underrepresentation in Latino and an overrepresentation in white not Latino. Again, noting the same point that we had an overrepresentation of, say, the Latino Affairs Commission. It is, we presume that if we had 100% participation, the actual variance will be higher than the 19% that we see here. And then we also looked at housing status, housing being such a key issue to our county and something that we're facing with. And again, we can see that renters are they have almost a 28% variance from the population, because the renters make up about 50% of the county population, but only 22% of our boards, commissions, and elected individuals. And in education levels, again, you can see a significant variance for those that hold advanced degrees. So master degrees and actually doctorate degrees have about 8%. And while the doctorate degree doesn't feel like a big variance, when you add it together to higher degrees, it's a significant number of the population. We also looked at disability. There was self-disclosed disability, so we did not go into what type of disability. It was just an identifying factor. It's a field that has been collected in the past by the county. But even so, we noticed that there seemed to be not enough. There was a 17-point variance between those that I identified as disabled versus the population in the data. So with that, I'm just going to jump into the key observations, some which I already mentioned through this data description. One is a critical underrepresentation of South County. In the city of Watsonville, which is 31% of the county population, it is underrepresented with only 16% in the boards and commissions. We have critical underrepresentation of renters, with over 77% of the respondents self-identified as homeowners, compared to 51% of homeowners captured by DataShare Santa Cruz. When we looked at race, ability, and age, we can see that, again, if we look at race alone, we have a 19% variance. That is, out of the 35% population in the county, only 60% are being represented in boards, commissions, and elected positions. I already mentioned the disability variance and the age variance as well. We also have critical overrepresentation of college graduates. As I mentioned, when you look at the data, it's about 68% of the surveyed held a college degree, with 39% holding a master's degree or higher, compared to the county population, where graduates equal 34% and 14% hold a master's degree or higher. And then the fifth option, as I mentioned, is due to the voluntary nature of the survey, the response rate was 45%. And we did notice an oversampling of what we call identity-based commissions, like Latino Affairs, Women's Commission, Disability. So it's important to note that while we capture data, a more robust participation across commissions and boards might give us a deeper dive. With that said, we moved into the recommendations that we have for the county. I would note that we're very grateful for the Board of Supervisors for accepting the report and actually accepting the recommendations. They are moving forward with staff to look at results and proposals to address the gaps mentioned before by May of 2023, thanks to Supervisor Bruce McPherson for leading that. The first recommendation that was adopted was create a committee to review the variances and propose solutions. Again, that's being led by staff, and we're very glad that that's taking place. The committee would be charged of exploring solutions to decrease existing variances and to monitor the progress of the county as we move forward. Second recommendation, it is that the demographic information that we just shared with you be collected during the application process for all board and commission positions, and that elected officials report this information during onboarding. That is to say that by having as part of the application process, we'll have closer to 100% participation, and therefore we can look at the data, a more full data set, and to monitor progress. And elected officials at the port of onboarding, we can get the same data as well. The third recommendation is to include county data review as part of the onboarding process. Basically, what we're saying here is that appointees, including those with appointed power, should review the makeup of the county. This includes elected officials, so that they keep that in mind when they're going through the nomination process for candidates to our boards and commissions. Obviously, elected positions are up to the voting public. And so those are more for the public to consider in terms of who they want their representatives to be and what kind of background and lived experiences are valuable in making those decisions. But for boards and commissions, staff, elected officials have an opportunity to just be informed of the makeup of the county and take that into consideration, which is why we think that by sharing the data review that is available through DataShare as part of the process, it would be useful. And last but not least, we recommend that the county work with cities to conduct a similar study. We already done the work of lifting up the process, the questions, the survey, and by ensuring that the cities can do a similar process, we can compare and align county and city efforts around equity and representation. And with that, I want to thank all of you for taking an interest in the report of a Santa Cruz Like Me. My information is on the screen. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and have a great day.